Hi, everyone. It's Bob Dietrich again with the ADHD Toolbox. And guess what? We have another awesome guest. Today, we have Rene Brooks. You may have seen her on Women's Palooza or Kaleidoscope Society or some of the many other programs, even Brenda Mahan's ADHD Essentials. You may have seen her on many other programs that she's been featured on. Rene, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we're super excited to have you here. And today we're going to talk about something special. Now, Rene talks about a lot of different subjects, especially diversity with an ADHD. But today we're going to focus on something specifically around overwhelm. And how do you overcome that overwhelm? And, you know, people with ADHD tend to be overwhelmed a little more than others, right? They get overwhelmed, and if you're ADHD child or teen or adult, it's good to understand how do you deal with overwhelm. But if you're a parent or you have students with ADHD, it's also good to understand what they're going through so you know how to do it. But once you protect yourself from the overwhelm, you get over the overwhelm. Renee's got an awesome process that she's going to take us through to talk about that. She calls it guarding your yes. So let me tell you a little bit about Rene. She's taken a late life diagnosis of ADHD and has used it to uplift others, which is phenomenal. She's actually been diagnosed 3 times with ADHD. What ADHD behavior is that?
I know, right?
And but finally, at age 25, she was able to get the treatment she deserved. She's now the founder of Black Girl Lost Keys, a blog that empowers Black women with ADHD to show them how to live well with the disorder. Rene is a contributor to many different publications, such as the Kaleidoscope Society, ADHD Women's Palooza, Mindfully ADHD, ADHD Essentials, ADD Attitude magazine, or Attitude magazine, named her one of the 5 women with ADHD who are changing the conversation. And now she's featured here in the ADHD Toolbox. So let's jump into this juicy topic, because you know what? We're all overwhelmed, ADHD or not, in today's society. So we can all use this information. Rene, tell us a little bit about overwhelm and what does guarding your yes mean?
Okay, so overwhelm, I feel like we're all well acquainted with it. You know, you find yourself in a place where there's all this information coming at you and all these offers being thrown at you. And especially if you have ADHD, you get a little bit of a dopamine hit when you say yes. And you get to feel a little bit special when someone asks you something. And before you know it, you're saying yes to everything. Yes, I'll come and speak. Yes, I'll watch the dogs. Yes, I'll write the paper. And before you know it, you have no time in your schedule, no energy left for you. And, you know, that's frustrating. So what I was talking about, and it all started on Twitter. Like I have this Twitter account that went ballistic um, a few months ago. So there's a bunch of people there, and I was talking about how we say yes to things until we're so overwhelmed we can barely stand it, and that we should guard our yes with our life, because that's really like, if you don't guard your yes, if you don't guard your yes, then you're in a place where your life is no longer yours. It belongs to the people and the projects that you've committed to. And it really saps away a lot of our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's guard your yes, the short version.
So so what you're saying is that people with ADHD like to please other people. And they're very good starters, right? They're interested in all sorts of things, and then when it comes time to fulfill, or if you commit to too many things, then the overwhelm starts, and it gets paralyzing, and then you're not good for anybody.
You're completely shut down. And I think, excuse me, that you raised an interesting point when you said we find a lot of things interesting, because that too is an issue. projects really appeal to us when they're new, don't they? They're very stimulating. We
So,
want to run after them. They're really exciting, and we think, boy, that would just be so great. But we're not thinking about the steps that it takes to complete the project. We're just thinking about how much fun it will be to get involved. And then we get into the thick of it and go, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
right.
It's too
But
late.
yep, we're committed. We're committed by that point.
So, that's another part of guarding your yes. Putting a pause in there and saying, okay, this sounds good. What's it going to cost me? What's it going to take for me to get there? What do I have to sacrifice in order to make this happen? And that's if you can insert a pause there, you can kind of go, wait a minute, I don't want to give up my Tuesday night poker game to make sure that I'm at this practice every night. I don't want to
Hmm.
give up my Sunday afternoon nap to make sure I'm at this special service.
Hmm.
I want those things. No. So that's one of the things that guarding your yes can do. I mean,
Right.
and it's it's just a spin on saying no. We don't like saying no. Saying no feels bad. It feels like we're disappointing people. It feels like we're hurting people's feelings. It feels like we're saying we're not capable of doing it. So when you stop thinking about saying no and you start thinking about what does saying yes mean, it opens your mind to what you'll have to face versus how it makes the other person feel. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, what are some techniques that you might use to uh, to guard your yes? Would you say that just flat out saying no works all of the time, or are there other ways to handle that?
I don't think flat out saying no is appropriate for every situation because sometimes we just need some time to think about it.
Right.
And that's just as important as saying no can be in the first place. Some things we know that they're completely inappropriate for us right off the top. But we talked a little while ago about inserting a pause. Let me get back to you on that. Can I have a minute to think about that? And one of my favorites is because, I have ADHD for real. Um, give me until 3 hours from now. Give me until tomorrow. Ask me on Friday. If I forget, get in touch with me because that A gives me some time to think about it. And B, if they don't get back in touch with me, I'm off the hook. How important is it to you? Are you really as committed to this project as you want me to be?
Right.
Because a lot of times people aren't. And
Right.
I think that's another thing we need to understand. Sometimes people are asking us because they know we'll say yes and they don't want to do it.
Right. And gets them off the hook, and now it's on us.
It's on us. So if we can say, touch base with me again. If you can't find anybody else to do it, let's talk then. Hey, I don't have time to really think this through until Monday when I
Mhm.
have time to look at my schedule again. Email me, call me. If you don't care enough about it to get back in touch with me,
Mhm.
you don't really want it. You don't really want me to be involved.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten about it already, so I'm safe. I'm not even going to feel guilty for forgetting about it. It's gone.
Yeah. What's interesting is what I'll try and do many times is because I understand the process is let me sleep on it. And what let me sleep on it does is it literally you want to sleep on it because your brain processes information overnight and you can come up with a much clearer answer of yes or no and why you would do that after sleeping on it. So let me sleep on
I
it.
totally agree. Your dopamine rush is gone.
Mhm.
Your fear of saying no is gone because they're not right in front of you anymore, and you've had a minute to mull it over.
Mhm.
I think that's a beautiful way to create a pause.
Fantastic. So one of and just so our viewers know, Renee and I talked before, and we kind of get the questions down, so she's ready for them. Um, And one of the things that we talked about asking here was, who are people who attack our yes more often, or most often? And I find that a fascinating question, and I really am interested in what the answer is.
Well, if you have to guard it, that means it's under attack, right?
Right?
So, who are the people who we most fear disappointing? Who
Mm,
are the people who we most want to impress? Those are the people who we have the hardest time not saying yes to.
right.
So, your family members, your authority figures, teachers, coaches, bosses, pastors, people like that. Those are the people who are going to come for your yes. You didn't hear that, did you? Good. I'm so my TV just came on out of nowhere, so I heard the Netflix thing, and I was like, "What's happening here?" But gosh, so what was I
Yeah.
saying?
So we're talking about the people that guard, that attack your yes, and it's not a literal attack, right? It's not like they're
No, of
intentionally
course.
coming at you, but they are.
Although there are, I truly believe that some people, again, we just said it. Some people ask us because they know we'll do it.
Right.
And we get saddled with unpleasant tasks that nobody wants to do because they know we're compassionate, impulsive, whatever way you want to call it. They know that if they ask us at the right time, we're going to do it. They won't have to do it. They won't have to find another, forgive the expression, they won't have to find another sucker to do it. And we're stuck with it. And we resent it. And we don't even do it well because we resent it, or we might not do it at all because
Right.
we resent it.
Right.
We might intentionally forget about it because we don't want to do it and be a little bit passive aggressive about it. We can prevent all of that if we just really think about, what am I saying yes to?
Got it. So pausing, whether it's for a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, overnight, a couple of days, is always a good idea, because it gives you a chance to process it and really understand the consequences before you commit. Um,
And it's a really simple concept, but I don't want to leave anyone with the impression that it's an easy one.
right. Yeah,
Not
for
even,
sure. Not so easy.
especially for us, because we feel pressured when we're asked a question. We want to give an answer. We want
Right.
to give it now.
Right.
We don't have time to think about it later. We know if we take too much time, we're going to forget and it's gone unless we find some way to record it and remind ourselves. So the heat's on. Take it off for yourself. You don't have to tell somebody yes immediately.
Yeah. And there's always that person that you can't say no to, right?
Yes.
And so how great would it to be to not, instead of saying no, say, can I get back to you tomorrow? Or even, can we talk about this in a few minutes? I'm really busy right now. That's sometimes enough to hold it off, and you find that it wasn't that important anyway, like you said earlier.
That's my favorite. I'm telling you. But I was on Brendan's show and he said, "You said something. I want to know, are you doing that on purpose?" I said, "You better believe I'm doing it on purpose." I get out of, I mean, and people don't mean anything by it. They just, it's not,
Mhm.
we think that they're asking us and, we're like Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're not the only hope. They've got other people they can ask to do this thing. They'll find them. They might not even feel like waiting for us to answer because they know we're going to forget. The people in our lives know who we are, whether they've accepted it or not,
Right.
which is another story. They know who we are. They know we're gonna forget. They know that we're if they don't get the yes from us, I'm sure that they know there's a good chance it might not ever come back up again. So they'll find someone to do it. There's other
So,
people.
so why do you think it's harder, Renee, for people with ADHD to say no?
I think there's a shame component in ADHD. There's a self-esteem issue that can happen for some of us. I think some of us have trouble saying no because we feel like we have to justify our existence, so to speak, where, it's like, well, I've disappointed these people so many other times. Let me just take on this task. Let me see if I can make up for the last time by saying yes this time. Let me see if I can finally get the approval from them that I've been looking for. Let me see if I can reestablish a bond with this person. Let me see if I can prove to them that I'm improving by saying yes. So there's all of those factors. And then there's just like you said earlier, we like new stuff. And people bring us ideas, and especially if it's somebody we like, we're interested in the idea because we're interested in them. So we want to get into that thing and move around. And it can be difficult to say no to that because you feel like you're saying no to interacting with a person who you're really interested in.
Right.
So there's that as well.
And you know,
So
with ADHD, there's such a constant flow of sometimes negativity. It's like you got the cortisol pumping through your body because you feel like you're always under threat. And so when you have a chance to get that dopamine hit, and it's not conscious, right? It's subconscious. Like I get to
right.
feel good by saying yes, yes, I'll do that for you. It's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for saying yes.
And
And then it's like,
you're
yeah,
happy that you
you're happy
made
in
them
the moment,
happy,
right? And then all of a
and you
sudden,
forget all about it
yep,
until it's time to do it. And they
right.
say,
It's like, what did I
that
do?
thing that you said you were going to do, and you're like, oh, why did I say I would do that? I have no interest in that. I don't even have time to do that. How am I going to manage that? You
Right.
already said yes. Impulsive use said yes.
Hmm. Right.
And every day you was tired of cleaning up impulsive use messes.
Hmm. Right. That's a good point. Well said. And so today, your free gift is that we're going to get. If you click the link below, you'll get it. Don't do that yet, though, because we're not quite done. Is the setting of boundaries, better boundaries, and it
Yes,
seems like what we're talking about here is in order to one strategy to overcome overwhelm is by guarding your yes, and you do, and that's a process that's kind of a subset of setting boundaries, it sounds like.
absolutely. And setting boundaries is like it's remember when self-care was the buzzword? It still is, but I feel like self-care and boundaries are like all the rage right now. And for us, we want connection. We want community, so
Hmm.
many of us. And I think some of us, we tell people that we're introverts, but sometimes it's not that we're introverted, it's that we've been so beaten down by other people's perceptions of our behavior that we've withdrawn. It's not that we're necessarily introverted, it's that we're protecting ourselves from people. So setting more boundaries feels like keeping more people out and isolating ourselves further.
Hmm.
So I think I feel like there's a resistance to setting boundaries as far as because we're focused on how do we connect with more people. If
Right.
I put up walls, it keeps more
Right.
people out versus if you put up the right walls, it leaves it blocks the people out who don't belong there
Hmm.
and leaves space for the right people to
Hmm.
come in.
Yep, I love that. What's occurring to me is that these boundaries that we're setting, um, by guarding our yes, and by deferring, let me think about it, let me sleep on it, whatever the answer, doesn't set the boundary. It just allows you to think about whether you want to set it or not, and
That's
consider setting.
right.
And so what it sounds like we're doing is that our impulsive nature says, I'm just going to go for it. And therefore the boundaries are gone. Your option to set a boundary is gone. And but
Bingo.
once you defer it, then you can think about it. Do I want to set a boundary here, or do I not? Do I want to commit? Do I not? And then you can do that. And then it, the whole process that you're offering here is the process of giving yourself time to think and set that boundary if you choose to.
Exactly. And that's what we want. We want a better option. We want to not get an email 6 weeks later and feel like we've completely backed ourselves into a corner that we can't get out of. That's a really terrible feeling when
Hmm.
you feel like you are committed and you're trapped, but you also don't have the space in your life to complete whatever it is. So then you got to decide if you're going to go back to them and say, no, no, I'm not going to do the thing, and feel even worse about it than if you had never committed in the first place. Because I feel like when we commit to those things, if we have to back out, then we're reinforcing some of that negative self talk that we do, where we say, I never complete anything that I start. I'm irresponsible. I'm always letting someone down. I'm a disappointment. All of those messages that we're trying to escape, if we're not careful about what we commit to, we're reinforcing a message that isn't true.
Got it. Got it. So the challenge for our viewers then is to be aware of next time as somebody asks you to do something, is to pause somehow, whether it's give me a minute, give me a night, give me a day, contact me tomorrow, email me, but put them off somehow. Even if it's something you really want to do, maybe you do it.
Especially if it's something you really want to do, because the more excited we are, the less we're thinking about the logistics of the actual thing.
Now, what if it's something you really want to do and you don't want to miss that opportunity? Hey, I got tickets for tonight's concert. You want to go?
You better figure out a way to figure out whether that's going to be able to fit into the thing fast. So that means, do you have to check back at home with the spouse, get them on the phone now? I mean, that's life. Sometimes we just have to seize the moment. But we think we have to seize the moment all the time.
No.
Like every moment is not a moment to seize. Like we'll be like, well, what if this doesn't come around again? Some things are just able to be delayed. Concert tickets for tonight are not one of them. If you need the concert tickets, call the wife and tell her, I need these concert tickets. You got an issue with me going, and go to the concert. But not every can you show up next Sunday to watch the dogs is not a once in a lifetime opportunity that's never going to circle around again. And we need to stop pretending that it is. And we're not going to we're not shooting people through the heart. They're not going to hate us forever. They're not going to they're probably not even thinking about it after they leave our presence. They're probably just like, ah, crap, now I got to go find somebody else to ask. We put that pressure on ourselves, and it's not fair. We don't deserve it.
You're absolutely right. And it sounds like if you're already in overwhelm, then this strategy is not relevant to you at this point. But if to prevent going into overwhelm, you're going to want to guard that yes. You're going to want to pause the conversation and get back to them if it's possible, and go from there. And then limit the amount of things that you're committing to, and that will prevent you from getting into the overwhelm by guarding that yes.
And then, of course, which is another conversation entirely. Sometimes we don't even know what we've committed to.
Sounds like
So
part two of our conversation.
it does, right? It's like, how do you like? Sometimes we don't even know the reason why we feel so overwhelmed until, like, have you ever gotten through a day and thought, geez, I'm really tired, but I don't feel like I did anything? Did you ever go back over your day and go, oh my God, I sent like 20 emails, I took 4 phone calls, I had a meeting, I wrote this, I did that. Why did I think that I didn't do anything?
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. I mean, we're capable. I don't mean that we don't know what we're doing in the sense that we have no idea what we're doing. I mean that we're doing things and we're more productive than we envision ourselves to be sometimes. We just forget.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, that's great information. If you are wanting more information on this, you can find Rene at blackgirllostkeys.com. You can email her also at blackgirllostkeys@gmail.com. And both links are below, as well as the link to her free gift, which is the Setting Better Boundaries Guide. Say that 3 times fast. And this has been a great conversation. I think anybody can use this information. I know I'm going to try it on the next person that asks me for anything.
Do it.
No, why not? It's a great practice, right?
I got in a lot of trouble and had to figure out how to not keep getting in trouble by saying yes to things. So learn from my mistakes.
There you go. There you go. from one ADHD mind to yours, we have the wisdom of getting through overwhelm and making sure that you don't get into it in the first place, which is a great strategy for dealing with overwhelm. Renee, thank you so much for being on our show today. Thank you for this information. And for more information, make sure you go to Black Girl Lost Keys. And if you are someone who loses their keys, I'm sure you're going to love this. I know so many people that do.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time and for this
Thank
information.
you.
You can also see Renee on Women's Palooza. She's being featured there. So enjoy that interview as well. And Renee, thank you for all you do in the community of ADHD.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. And thank you all for watching this episode of the ADHD Toolbox. We will see you on the next episode.